gives us moments when we have the opportunity to make a choice. And what we choose has the potential to change our lives forever. Join us now for another inspired episode of The Breakthrough. And now, please welcome the creator and host of the show, Jessica Dugas.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Get comfy and listen in. Today is Friday, August 16th, 2019, and this is Season 3, Episode 3 of The Breakthrough Show. It's the spiritual view for your soul and mind, where we dig deep on today's spiritual hot topics and inspire you with the stories that change our lives. We appreciate you so very much here at The Breakthrough Show for tuning in, whether you are live with us right now on Facebook, or you're on the replay on YouTube, on one of our podcast platforms. We would love for you to hit that subscribe button wherever you are and share this broadcast out with your family, friends, and colleagues so that we can share more of the inspirational and positive message of The Breakthrough Show. If you're enjoying this show on another platform other than the Breakthrough Show page, we would like for you to check that comments, the description of the video, and you can find a link directly to our live feed so that we can comment along with you, along with the show. All right. Today, our guest is going to burn it up. You'll see what I did there in a minute. Get ready, because we have the host of the Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self, the 12-hour marathon and podcast, Chris Burns, is here. Plus, coming up shortly, we'll be saying hi to our panelists. We will be jumping into our hot topic. We have a lot in store for you today and some crazy good high energy. But first, do you have a business that, like the Breakthrough Show, is changing the world? Well, we would love to meet with you about becoming a Breakthrough Show sponsor or broadcast partner. Please send an email to jessica@thebreakthroughshow.com or send a message to our Breakthrough Show Facebook page, and let's change the world together. So now, without further ado, I want to welcome on our panelists for the day. Up first, we have our transformational midwife. She is our more quiet presence on the show, but I know her better than that. Everybody, please welcome Crystal Cockerham to the Breakthrough today.
Hello, thank you.
Welcome, Crystal. And we made it through Mercury retrograde, and now we are in the full moon, because if it's not one thing, it's another. How are you doing with the full moon?
That's right. And just to add to that is this full moon, it has a lot of new moon energy, right? There's a lot of creativity to it, which is like the first characteristic of the divine feminine within all of us. So all of that inspiration has been contagious.
Yes, it's in Aquarius, and Aquarius, I'm biased, but it's like the best sign. But Aquarius, I mean, it's one of those really, like, you know, creating the way sort of energies where it's about doing something new and different. It's about putting yourself out there and saying, screw everybody else, I'm changing the world anyway. And so when we had in the sun is one thing, but then in the moon it's to get emotional about it, to get fired up about it some more. So who doesn't? I mean, let's just change the world. I'm gonna change the lyrics too.
The song that's been in my head about that this week is "Turn Around." Oh wait, that was myself. Yeah, bye. Don't need you anymore. I'm you again.
After Kathleen was on the show Wednesday, now all we're gonna do is sing today. Just letting you guys know. All right, guys. Up next on the show, we are welcoming our artist and BQH practitioner. Lori is amazing, and she's joining us today. So everybody, please welcome Lori Auger to the show.
Yay! Yay!
Hello. Sorry, I had to unmute.
You're all good. We're so excited to have you back on today, Lori. I know you both had the week off last week, and which is fun, but I miss you. And so I'm glad that you're back this week. How are you doing in this full moon?
I'm doing good. And it's, great that you're talking about creativity, because I've been working on some paintings and some creative projects, in addition to doing some extra sessions, which I'm very happy about because I love doing my BQH sessions. And yeah, had a great week.
Awesome. Awesome. And listen, you guys, Lori lives near the beach and had a beautiful, you have to go hunt her down on Facebook because she had a beautiful video of near the water with the waves and her tuning forks. And it was just like, I just need it on repeat over and over and over. It's beautiful. So you guys have to hunt her down and find that. All right. Yeah. Up next on the show today, we have our Mama Bear Extraordinaire helping us through all the traumas in this life. Everybody, please welcome Ceri Ridenour back to the Breakthrough.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Ceri. Hey. Thanks for being on with us today. How are you doing in the full moon energy?
Oh my gosh, what Crystal was saying about the new moon energies in there with it, we've had major changes going on here at the house. Yeah. In all areas. It's just been crazy.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, like, I agree with you, Crystal, that it's been sort of like it's full moon, but there is some of that new moon kind of vibe in there of I think I've seen a lot of people letting go of things and just starting, just like, okay, yeah, we're halfway through the year, but I don't care. I'm restarting anyway.
It's kind of like cleaning out the closet, like, oh my gosh, I've kept that for so long. It's gone.
It's funny you mentioned that, Crystal, because I did a lot of cleaning over the weekend, just throwing out some old stuff and making room because, yeah, I needed that extra space to do some of my art. So,
yeah, it's an interesting energy for sure, which brings us into, when we get in that space of clearing things out, it brings us into a good segue into our hot topic today, which is, are you stuck? And if you're stuck, are you making yourself stuck? Are you committed to harmful behavior that's making yourself stuck? And I want to read you guys this quote. It's from Emily. I think her name is Moroshin, but I'm just gonna leave that up for debate because my pronunciation is gone today. But she says, you're not stuck. You're just committed to certain patterns of behavior because they've helped you in the past. Now those behaviors have become more harmful than helpful. The reason why you can't move forward is because you keep applying an old formula to a new level in your life. Change the formula and get a different result. How do you guys feel about that?
Oh, absolutely. Jessica, you and I talked about a month ago about being stuck, and when I wouldn't get something done, then I would get frustrated and just not do anything. And so I've changed a lot of patterns, and now I'm getting so much done now during the day and with plenty of time left over. Before it was I had no time. Now I'm getting 100 times much more productivity and have plenty of time left over. It's amazing.
That's been a huge thing, and I'm glad that you've been able to kind of adjust that a little bit in your life, because for me, like, I was not a born organized person, and I've really just spent so much of my life trying to be organized and use my time more wisely, and more wisely, is that a thing? I don't know, but use my time wisely, etc. And oftentimes I would hold myself back with a lot. Like, I know it was me that was holding myself back. I know 100% that to be the case. And I think a lot now about my own journey, like my health journey and things like that. And what things I ask myself, it's gotten to be a habit for me where I ask myself several times a day, is what I'm doing right now keeping me where I am, or is it moving me forward? And I think that that's a really good question to ask yourself, whether you think you're at fault or not. You got to ask yourself, what am I doing? What is this thing that I'm doing right now? Is it helping me or hurting me?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jessica, because I've had many times in my life where I felt stuck, and I started to realize that whenever I was in those periods, it's because I was basically wallowing in kind of self-pity or something because of something that was going wrong, and how I try, but nothing was working out. But then I also realized that I was also doing the same things over and over again from that bad place, and that doesn't get you to a new place, just like that meme talked about. You kind of have to start trying new things and letting go of like past failures or whatever you want to call it, and just move forward. Just do it, like they say, or like Nike says, just kind of get out there and make those changes. If you want to see changes, you're the one that's in control of your life. Like, you can't keep blaming outward things from happening, which is what I did a lot, for a long time. It wasn't until I stopped.
It's easier.
It is,
to do that, right?
definitely.
To point the finger.
Oh yeah, definitely. But then when things aren't changing, this was something I saw Alan Knight, one of our other panelists, he had put a video up where he was talking to this other woman about, you have to get fed up. You have to, there's got to be that point, that breaking point that's like, I am so done with this crap and I'm ready to do something different just to get out of it. And plenty of times in my life, I've actually moved, not knowing where I was going or what I was going to do, but I did it because it was the way to shake things up and change things, because where I was and the people I was surrounded with just wasn't working out. And anytime I did that with faith that things would work out, they did. Right. Because you have to manifest that too. You can't think oh, I'm going to move to this place and it's going to be awful, because then you're going to manifest those awful things. You have to have that, that hope that things will, get better as long as you're working at it. You have to really start working at it.
Well, I know, Crystal, when you're teaching about the divine feminine, the feminine is more go with the flow. So would you say that if you are stuck, that maybe, would you say that that's more in the masculine? What does that look like for you?
To be stuck, I'm going to say that it's really neither, because I don't see the divine feminine as going with the flow. Divine feminine is very much in control, and it's incited through that action of the sacred masculine, right? It's very inspired, but the feminine energy is expansive and contracting, and expansive and contracting. So while it can expand to contain the explosive energy, right, that's going on, yes, the container itself can get stuck, but only if the energy inside of it is stuck and not moving. So then the container, what it does, because right before creation is chaos, it'll blow shit up. So I agree with the quote. However, I think it depends on the level to which you're actually trying to incite the change. Because, if it's a little thing and oh, I've done this before, it's just like so-and-so, I'm just going to do this and it works, that's fine. But if you're really implementing massive change, it's really important to do everything different.
Right.
If you get up and you make your coffee and then you jump in the shower, then make your coffee. If you have more than one way of getting to work, you go a different way. You just do everything different and force your brain to keep recalibrating, just your GPS when you miss a turn. You're forcing that newness, so it just really gets you out of everything, even the stuff that works.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of GPS also stands for greatest possible self. And I have a little laugh with our guest that's coming up today about Wednesday being GPS day. I never say happy Wednesday anymore. I always say happy GPS day, because it's the greatest, becoming your greatest possible self marathon day. And it lifts you up. And I think that it's so beautifully tying into our guest today, because if you're being your greatest possible self, if you're doing everything that you can do, you'll move through those periods of feeling like you're stuck, and you'll move through to the next thing. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful segue into introducing our guest for today. All I can say is that if you haven't seen or listened to the Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self Marathon and podcast on Wednesdays, you are missing out. Period. That's my opinion. However, we have good news for you today, as you're going to get a little taste of that show with our epic guest, Chris Burns. Chris Burns is the host of the Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self, a weekly 12-hour Listen, I thought I had some kind of stamina until until I saw that show. It's a 12-hour live streamed marathon and podcast. Over the last 2 years, Chris has conducted more than 500 interviews of inspirational role models, influencers, and leaders and he has clients as well. Clients hire Chris Burns to help them start or grow their online show or podcast and encourage them to step into their greatest possible self and achieve higher levels of personal and professional performance. He does this by focusing on your purpose, your presence, and your platforms, and running mastermind groups. Since hitting rock bottom at an early age and bouncing back stronger than ever, Chris has spoken on stages across the United States. He has been interviewed on Success Profiles Radio, and he's also the Chief Growth Officer with Burn It Up Coaching Inc., the personal development company behind the marathon and podcast. Everybody hit the heart buttons wherever you are in the world and welcome the incredible Chris Burns to the show. Yes, you are muted.
That's right. I was muted. I just wanted to sit in the silence and just what energy did you feel without even any words coming out? You felt it, right? You felt the fire.
Felt the fire. It was burning up in here, Chris.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super stoked. And for everyone who's tuning in, definitely stay tuned. We're going to dive into some deep, juicy stuff because, I mean, why would I come on here and not talk about the juicy stuff? That's where we're going. So let's go.
That's right. That's right. All right, Chris, before we dive into your story, I would love for you to chime in on our hot topic today. Have you ever been stuck before, and was it your fault?
My goodness gracious. Yes, I've been stuck before. And yes, I take 100% personal responsibility for my reality, positive and otherwise, because I think you get to be responsible. I'm blessed to be responsible for both. Tony Robbins has a famous quote in I Am Not Your Guru, the movie. He says, if you're going to blame your dad for all the things that he did wrong for you, then you also get to blame him for all the things that he did right for you, or your mom, or whoever the person is in your life. And Erin Feel came on the 12-hour marathon this week, rocked it, absolutely great interview. And she had one question that I think is so perfect for this interview. And she asked, what would I have to believe for this pattern, this stuckness, this block to keep happening? What would I have to believe is true about my reality? If someone is having a challenge, let's say finding the love of their life. No, there's no good guys out there. There's no good women out there. It's just so difficult to find this person. What is that person believing is true to stay in that stuck situation? If someone's having challenges with money, what do you have to believe is true about your worthiness, about how easy it is to attract and create abundance in your life? So specifically, I just wanted to give a context of you have tools to ask yourself, what is the block? What is the blind spot? And I had a ton of training through Landmark Personal Development and Education, helping me to really be aware of what are those blind spots. And I think that is the journey that we're all on, to become more self-aware of our blind spots. So I know we're going to dive into specifically some things about my journey, but I just want to share that as far as I get to be responsible for my blocks. And also I love to reframe it and say, what is the universe wanting me to know? What is God's source creator? What is the gift? What's the opportunity? If I keep experiencing this, then I haven't learned my lesson. I haven't transcended the block. I haven't transcended the stuck energy. There's something that I still haven't learned for my highest and best good to be able to handle all the epicness in life that is coming my way. And I get to focus on this moment, trusting it's perfect. It's not supposed to be any other way. I'm not supposed to have, X amount of money. I'm not supposed to have the man or woman of my dreams if that is not my current reality. I'm supposed to be here for a reason. What's the lesson?
I love how you said, I get to be responsible instead of I am responsible, because I think sometimes we look at it when we see a struggle in our own life, or we see a challenge, we see a block, a stuckness, whatever, we look at that. And if we say, I'm responsible for that, it can bring us down into that energy of feeling bad about it, of feeling like I did something wrong. And when we say, I get to be responsible instead, I just love the wording that you use there, because when you say I get to be responsible, responsible, you're saying, I get to do this. It's going to be fun.
Privilege.
It's going to be awesome. It's a privilege to shift things and change things and to be the creator of our life, right? It's just so powerful, the words that you use. So I had to stop, rewind, and point that out really quickly. It was good stuff. Truth bombs, golden nuggets, all happening already here on the show today. If you are enjoying the show, please take a moment and let us know in the comments what your takeaways are as the show goes on, and let us interact with you in the comments of the show as well. All right, Chris, I want you to paint a picture for us. Take us back. Tell us a little bit about Chris Burns before he was taking responsibility for his life.
So I always believe it's another moment, it's another opportunity to really step into that responsibility, because yesterday I could have been responsible about one thing, and today there might be another thing that I still get to work on. I get to be more aware of, more conscious in my choosing, in how I relate to it. So definitely in the past, I used to play tons of video games. I'll take us like way back, and then I'll take us to the moment that I want to share with y'all. But when I was 17, 18 years old, I escaped life, hardship, difficulty, feeling like I was unworthy, feeling like I didn't fit in, nobody understood me, by playing video games, by drinking, by partying, by numbing and avoiding. And so I want to share with anyone out there who's a man or a woman, you get to create healthy habits and outlets of your energy. I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, being responsible for how do I process energy. Specifically, here's something that you can write down. I think a lot of people have stored stuck anger. They don't express their anger. And so recently, something I did that I was told by my coach is to start hitting things with a Nerf plastic bat, whatever it might be, like hit a pillow, hit something soft, take it out in a healthy expression. You could also do martial arts. You could also do different things like that. But back then, when I was 17, 18, I was frustrated. I was full of anxiety, full of fearing like I wasn't enough, like self-judgment, self-criticism. And even till this day, I'm still working. I'm still growing my relationship, cultivating my relationship of love with myself. I believe it's a lifelong journey. But I wanted to preface that you might see me being confident today. You might see me doing the 12-hour marathon, interviewing 600 plus guests in the last 2.5 years, helping people launch their podcast. Like, I love my life. I feel like I'm in my purpose. I feel like I'm in the flow today. But I just want to remind anyone out there, whatever you're going through, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to feel stuck. But it's not okay to stay there. Don't stay there. Don't allow yourself to be a victim and give up and say, I'm not bigger than this thing that I have created or attracted into my life. So I just wanted to start off with that because I feel that's super relevant. A lot of people are judging their emotions, judging what they're feeling. And for example, I think that there's a big culture of avoidance of like sex and like how that is that energy of attraction, of lust, of things like that. It's really hurting our culture that we don't have healthy expressions of that. We have things like porn addiction and different stuff like that. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but I just wanted to say, like, there's a lot of men, I can relate to men especially, who are dealing with all this pressure. And so I want to just invite you to say it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel frustrated, to have wounds, to have stuff that you're still processing with your parents and whoever in your life that you haven't forgiven. But the first step is to really forgiving yourself. So I wanted to just lay that foundation before we dive into the specific moment, Jessica.
I love that, Chris. And I think that's something that I have really spent a lot of time with myself on, that giving myself permission to not be okay. But then also, if I find myself in that space for too long, to say, and I think too long looks different for everybody. I think it depends on where you're at. It depends on a lot of different factors. But to say, okay, girl, you better put on your big girl t-shirt and get your ass up. Like, let's go, Yeah. And so I think that does look, would you say, just to make a little detour here for a half a second. What do you say to someone who has, maybe they've been stuck for like 2 years, like 2 years they've been in the same place, and they come to you and they say, I'm just, I'm stuck, like, and I can't, I'm not okay. Like, what do you say to them if they're in that place and they can't seem to pull themselves out?
Yeah. So I think it's really a case by case basis, what they've done, what they've tried, how connected they are with themselves, with their purpose, with their passion, with something to live for. I think that it really determines how easily they're able to move through that phase. But if they've been there for 2.5 years, most likely they're not taking personal responsibility for some level or something in their life. At that point, I believe some tough love from a loving coach, someone who actually cares about them and says, I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm going to say that this is something that's blocking you. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to take your next steps. I'm going to give you multiple different choices. You can, let's say, work with a coach. You can, go express yourself in a healthy way. You got some blocks. So here are some options of how you can proceed forward. So I think that is the only thing that we can do. We are not responsible for other people's lives. I think that's a big symptom and syndrome, so to speak, in the coaching world today and healing world. Like, we believe we're saviors here to save people from themselves and from their own stuff that they have picked up along the journey. And that's been a really challenging lesson for me, to detach from that and just trust that I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to move the needle forward, the ball forward on the yard lines as much as I possibly can. But ultimately, it's up to them to be able to take the actions that take themselves responsible. I can educate them. I can pour into them. But at a certain point, I think there's a diminishing return on investment. If someone isn't willing to invest money in themselves to change something, if someone isn't willing to surround themselves with new people, to disconnect from toxic relationships, to get themselves into a positive environment, to do things like reading and listening to podcasts and going to seminars, if they're not willing to take some next action forward, or if they've already been taking all these different actions, if they're not willing to do the one thing that they know will make the difference for them, then they're not serious. They're still playing the victim. They're still waiting for someone to save them. And we, as service providers, healers, coaches, people who can really make a difference for them, it's not our responsibility to save them, but to give them the next steps. So I'm going to do everything I can, like the analogy with God, source, creator. Like, you take one step, I'll take one step. You want to run? I'll run with you, and that looks different for everyone. You want to walk? You want to crawl? You just want to update me every month, every 3 months, every 6 months, your progress? Cool. Like, if that's all you're willing to do, if that's the level of commitment you're ready for, then I'm here for you to go at your pace. But I can't force someone to go faster than they want to go.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I love
you make
that.
a really, really great point, Chris. I'm sorry, Lori. You make
No,
a
that's
really
okay.
great point, Chris, about the rescuing part, because the rescuer, no matter if you're the healer or the client or what have you, the rescuer role is still not looking and owning your own stuff. Right? Because it's not your job. Like, if you see somebody drowning and you have the ability and you choose to, yes, be the rescuer, right? If you have the ability to, we of course want to rescue that person. And as the healer, on the flip side, as we're guiding and supporting, we're offering just that, guidance and supporting. Like, free will, I'm all over that. I love when people come to me for a reading or whatever for the first time, because that's our first conversation. Whatever I say is not the law. You have free will, you can change it 50 times, but this is an option if nothing changes. And so I just felt like, wow, that is a very powerful thing to put out there, because it's really hard for us to not fall into that trap, because we care and we're passionate about what we do, and we're in service for a reason. So we really want to truly help and guide and support others. And just like when we're trying to manifest something, the attachment gets in the way. That attachment of being the rescuer can get in their way of their healing. Yeah. So, we can't take that accountability for another person's journey, only our own. So I just felt like that was just a spot on, awesome point to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Yeah, I agreed with that basically, because I think we all do some sort of healing or coaching, and I actually felt some resistance stepping into that. I love the modality that I use. I love that I get results with my clients, but the resistance I had was, are these people gonna like want me to solve all their problems? Because I can't do that. You know, like I'm there to help and to facilitate and to hold that space so that they can release whatever it is that they're holding on to. And maybe I can help them find some clarity. But then they have to take the next step. And I'm pretty clear about that with people. So but I'm also there for them if they need to talk things through, because it's really important that after you have your session, you're able to like discuss the changes that are happening and like, oh, what do I do now? So I'm there for that, but I can't, like you said, take responsibility for this person and be like, okay, well, I'm going to be your savior and I'm going to get you there, because it really is in their hands. And that's what my goal is when I work with people, is for them not to have to come back to me, to be able to evolve from that point. And if they need to work with another person, that's great, because I also think that there's so many other people that can provide that next level, that next step. It's not just working with one person and stopping there. It's growing, continuing to grow and to evolve.
I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely,
Yeah.
Lori.
That is a great point, Chris, because I know in my own life, if something didn't work, I always felt guilty that I couldn't help them, and so that's a very freeing feeling when you take that responsibility off yourself. It's their life. They have to change it. You can't change it for them. It's set me free a lot.
Yeah. Chris, do you think that people were in that period of time in your life when you were trying to, right around the time when you were going to make changes, when you were going to take that responsibility, do you think that people were enabling you to stay sort of where you were at, or do you think they were supportive, or how were the people that were around you at that time?
I think that's a great question. I am an amazing, brilliant strategist, right? I came from electrical engineering. I'm like amazing with plans, with thinking things out, and like just being totally real. I learned how to like manipulate the people around me to keep me small. I learned how to position myself to hide in my room. This is years ago, like when I was dealing with my roommates and stuff, and I think that's what we want to get to. But I really created and engineered a life where I was still like being looking on the outside like I was up to big things. But deep down inside, I knew I was running. I knew I was afraid. I knew I was not taking responsibility. And every time someone wanted to have a tough conversation with me, like I was unwilling to have it. I pushed them away. I pushed people, my friends, the people who cared about me away, because I was afraid. I made up a story in my mind that the people who are closest to me like betray me and they hurt me and they leave me and they like do things that I don't want to have to experience again. I don't want to have my heart broken again. I'm this 6-year-old little boy living out in a 20-something-year-old man's body, and I don't want to get hurt again. And I didn't recognize that. So I would say, yes, I was enabling them and they were enabling me, and they did their best. So just to give everyone context, there was a time in my life where I was struggling financially. I was struggling to pay the bills. I was struggling to just get by. And I had some roommates at the time, and they were constantly encouraging me, pouring into me, and they wanted me to go get a job. And I said, I don't want to get a job. I want to do this entrepreneur thing. And I'm going to succeed no matter what it takes. And it came to this point where I was dancing in the realm of delusion and just positive thinking and hoping and praying that eventually everything would change, and not taking responsibility and saying, okay, well, I'll just please you. I'll go to the job interview. I'll go apply to some places just to please you. And so in that aspect, I think I want everyone who's listening or watching right now, ask yourself, where are you doing things just to people please? Where are you doing things to just get by, but you're not really confronting the issue? You're not really confronting the owning your voice. Part of me knew I was on the right track. Part of me knew I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur. I'm supposed to do it this way. But part of me also wanted everyone to be happy and didn't want to rock the boat and didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable or that I was a burden. So I said, okay, I'll live in both worlds, right? You've heard that phrase, burn the boats. I was unwilling to burn the boats and storm the island, so to speak, of entrepreneurship and give everything I had to go for it. And even though I told myself the story, I was willing to do whatever it takes, I wasn't actually following through with that. And so I really got to learn that these people, they loved me, but I was making them out to be the enemy. I was making them out to be the thing that was putting me in danger. So I pushed them away. I disconnected from them. And it's been a challenging journey for me to just recreate and reconnect with those relationships, forgive myself for how I was showing up, forgive them for judging them and making them totally wrong. But it was at that time where I just said, listen, Chris, I can either keep hiding out and playing small and playing the victim, or I can take responsibility for my life and go do what I need to do to provide those basics, the survivability. So another lesson that I learned is there's so many people out there wanting to change the world, but they're not even able to take care of their own bills. And that's who I was. I was being the savior syndrome. I thought oh, if I just help enough people get what they want, I can get anything that I want. And I was denying what I had already learned and what already worked to get me to where I wanted to go. So it was a huge moment of revelation, to really forgive them. It was after the fact that it happened. I hated them for a long time, a couple months. But then I said, you know what? They just really wanted the best for me. They were doing everything that they knew how to help me through this period of time in my life where I'm trying to figure things out. And it wasn't perfect, but they did their best. So I get to forgive myself for not being enough. I get to forgive myself for not hitting the mark, not having super financial success at this point in my life, and forgive them for anything that they did that hurt me, that seemed evil or wrong or whatever it might have felt like at the time. So it was really, really a profound moment of clarity, of awareness, and loving myself and be more conscious on this journey.
So after you realized all of that, how did you get to be where you are now? What were the first steps that you took in order to grow this business that you were desiring so much?
Yeah. So I still kept trying to people please at the time because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to own my voice. So I went and got jobs. I went and was able to facilitate my income and keep focusing on my entrepreneurial journey and endeavors. And eventually I said, hey, let's do this 12-hour marathon and keep this thing growing and be able to get people's message out to the world in that aspect. So we've been doing this for about 2.5 years now. And in that time, I've been able to really expand my network, get clear on my message. At the time, I didn't know that I really valued being seen, being loved, and being heard so much. I didn't know that I just wanted to be validated. I wanted to be acknowledged that I mattered, that I was important. And I couldn't get that from anyone outside of me. I had to give that to me myself. So I really had to start building a new relationship with myself going within. I also started connecting to a higher power, because if I rested the weight of everything and the universe and tried to control everything myself, that's a lot of freaking stress. And I think a lot of people are trying to do that, trying to control their reality. And so I just started to learn how to control myself, started working with more clients and just really focusing on making that difference while not making it about being the savior, so to speak, and providing for my own needs. So slowly I was able to move away from the 9-to-5 corporate kind of realm and then move into more of the coaching entrepreneur. I was taken care of. I had my basic needs met so that I was able to thrive and prosper in these new ventures that I took on.
Awesome.
So I have a question for you, Chris. Thank you for sharing that too, by the way. But what was the moment where your rock bottom happened? What was that moment where it just snapped you out of it and woke you up?
Yeah. So it was, my roommates had gone off to a New Year's Eve festival, right? A New Year's Eve. And, when they came back, they found out that I had left a previous job that I had, right? And I said, I'm going all in on this coaching thing. I'm going all in on, being able to help people. And I had gotten a new client, right away, a high ticket client. And so I said, I got this. It's going to work. It was also me not wanting to be responsible for providing for myself and like being a man, right? I think, Jessica, this is something that we talked about a while ago, is like the responsibility of being a father for my life. I was afraid of the responsibility. I was afraid of the weight of what would happen if it is to be, it's up to me. If I'm responsible for my own results and reality, that not necessarily what happens, but how I respond to what happens. I was afraid of that. And so I wasn't willing to be the father of my own life, to nurture and nourish my own life. And so a role that I really started stepping into before I ever had kids, before I ever had a girlfriend. I had girlfriends, but I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. Before I was ever in a relationship again, I said, I'm going to be the father of my life, of my tribe, of my clients, of my people who I care about, of the things, of my room, my environment. I'm going to be the father. I'm going to be the nurturer, the provider, the person who takes something that is raw material or out of alignment and transmutes that back into alignment, that transmutes it into, a beautiful creation. So it was at that New Year's Eve when they left and they came back and they said, this is not going to work. And so they confronted the heck out of me. I pushed back. I said, I don't want anything to do with you guys. There was yelling, there was arguments, there was door slamming. There was it was nasty. It was nasty. Like I made them so wrong. I thought like something had possessed them, like the way that it happened. I was like, God, please save me from the devil that has like entered into these people's minds. No, but like, it was bad. It was bad. I was really afraid for my safety, honestly. Like this is all blown out of proportion in my own mind and my own stories, of course. But, I really was afraid. And so it was through those emotions that got triggered, probably that I had been pushing down for so long, avoiding the conversations, avoiding interactions, avoiding dealing with the tough stuff, that just had it blow open. And from that raw, vulnerable place of feeling like I can't trust anyone, feeling like I'm not safe, feeling like my life is falling apart, that I was actually able to start to put the pieces back together, put the foundation back in place, surround myself with people who I could count on. Thankfully, I had a business partner, Wayne Myers. He's the voice of personal development, great guy. I had him to lean on and to go to when these things were happening. And I had these challenges in my life. So I'd say that was a big part, is having someone who you can trust, who you can really share and communicate these feelings that you're having. And he definitely helped me through this period of time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, I really love that concept of becoming the father or mother of your own life, because dealing with people with trauma, a lot of where they get stuck is because of not having that proper father or mother influence in their life. And I love that concept, becoming your own mother and your own father of your life. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. And when you said, if it is to be, it is up to me, I had to giggle to myself. It wasn't because of your story, but randomly over the last few years, I've posted that several times on different social media, because that was literally in the lunchroom of my middle school.
Wow.
Like in big letters in the cafeteria.
That's amazing.
Isn't that?
Yeah, the alignment. It's like these messages I think we step over, the signs, the hints from the universe, things that I probably got indicators. I probably got nudges and things saying, hey, Chris, you're not taking responsibility for your life. You're kind of off track. Like, get back on track. Come on, be aware, be present. But I kept doing things to avoid, to run, to numb, whatever it was, like addictions, things like that like kept me stuck. And so the universe kind of finally had to say, all right, we are going to shake you up so freaking much. And I'm like getting chills as I feel this, because it's like confirmation. We're going to shake you up so much that you can't ignore this anymore. You can't pretend that this isn't what we're attempting to get you to recognize. And so I think that's what a blessing that it is that the universe, God, source, creator communicates with us in that way, or angels, whatever we want to say, communicates with us in that way. Attempting to kind of nudge us at first, but hey, if we're off track of our purpose, of our greatest possible self, it's going to come back and it's going to be a little bit more forceful. It's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable, or a lot uncomfortable, until we get the message.
Yeah.
Chris,
Sure.
I've asked this of one of our past guests, Efio Afasa, who's amazing himself, and we talked about sort of these moments of rock bottom that we have, and what do you think separates you from someone else who has been at rock bottom and they don't come up, they don't go to the next thing, they don't move on, and they kind of stay where they're at? Was it a community of good people around you? Was it your upbringing? Was it a determination internally? Like, what do you think it is that separates you from someone who may have been down the bottom before, but isn't, moving on to the next thing?
It's definitely a combination of all those, Jessica. For me, I had really loving parents. My first rock bottom was when I was 21, 22 years old. I just hit this I had addictions, so to speak, that were not healthy and were really challenging me in my life. And so I got to this place where I'm like, I feel like the biggest disappointment in the world. And it was my parents who said, Chris, we are going to get through this. Like we don't like disown you. It's not that we don't love you anymore. Like, we love you. We're here for you. We don't know what happened. We don't know why you got so off track. We don't know why you did these things that you did, but we just want you to know we're here for you. So number one, I feel I have a very loving, accepting connection with my parents. Not everyone has that. Not everyone has that to go back to. So that was level one of my foundation. Level two was good, healthy habits. I had already been working out. I had already been starting to surround myself at this 21, 22-year-old rock bottom. I'd already started to surround myself with personal development, self-improvement, books, podcasts, videos, all this kind of stuff. And going to seminars, going to Toastmasters, like volunteering. Like, I was doing these things, but I was also trying to live the old life that had all the toxicity in it, that had me keep doing these habits and addictions that were not healthy for me. So at that point, I said, okay, I have a choice. I can keep going down this path, or I can choose the path that is better for me. Thankfully, I didn't have too many people, connections, relationships that I was so invested in that I said, oh, I got to go back to these people who have negative, toxic habits and addictions and surround myself back in that environment. I had a positive environment. I had Facebook to, communicate with people and share on Facebook Lives at the time. I had Toastmasters. I had personal development and growth events, workshops, seminars. So I had a direction that I was going, but I was still trying to hold on to this old way of being. I think if people are not clear that they have a shot, if they don't actually believe that they have a chance of getting out of it, if they don't actually have something that's clear enough to pull them forward out of the muck, then they will stay there. They will keep getting sucked back in. Thankfully, I had people like the relationships, the ties were not that strong. So I said, I love you, and I can't afford to invest any more time with you. Like, what I'm affording, what I'm investing is my greatest possible self, is people who lift me up, is people who make me a better human being. So I think it's really a combination of things, and everyone's different. We get to find out what's the weakest link, what's the common denominator, why people blame or justify why they keep ending up in a situation. We start there and start finding out, okay, what is that connected to? What is that rooted in? Did you not get the love? Do you not feel like you're worthy? Do you have a bad relationship with your parents and you feel like you're a misfit? There's so many different things that we could explore with that.
I love it, Chris. And I think that's so important, to have a vision, to surround yourself with good things, and then to get to the root of why you personally are stuck. Because you're right, it's so different for everybody, in their lives and the things they're dealing with. Chris, you've given us so many amazing, awesome, golden, epic nuggets throughout this episode today. I appreciate everything that you've shared with us. I would love for you to take a minute and share any final thoughts that you have, and also where can everybody find you and what you have going on right now?
Thank you, Jessica. And it's been a blast with you, Ceri, Crystal, Lori, and Jessica. Thank you all for having me, and everyone who's tuning in right now, live or replay. Just give us a thumbs up, give us a heart in the comments, and drop an emoji, how you feel about this. Drop a flame emoji. Come on, we are burning it up in here, fired up. So I appreciate all of you. And specifically, the final words I want to share is commit every single day to loving yourself even more. without ego, without judgment, without fear of what people will think. That is the biggest thing that held me back, is I'm afraid to love myself too much, because what will happen? What Chris will come out? What will people think of me? Will they accept me? And I am the only person who I go to sleep with every single day, right? Of course, I have my girlfriend now, but like for most part, it's me every day, always. I'm the common denominator. So I get to really check in with myself and be honest with myself. And so I invite every single one of you, like simply think about this. The first response that comes to your head, that's your right answer. And then you could think about it and say what you would actually give yourself a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, just in your own mind. How much do you love yourself? The first answer, boom, that was it. That's what your subconscious mind actually feels and thinks. Now you get to know that you have that number. You have that feeling. You have that level of connection of love within yourself. The question is, what do you do about it? The question is, do you ask for support, for help? I believe that everything is tied to our self-love, our self-image, how much we like and love and trust ourselves. And this is the first thing I would really recommend. I'm personally at the phase in my life where I still get to write love letters to myself, to discover myself, to romanticize my relationship with myself, to go deep. I'm a freaking man, right? Like men typically are not supposed to be like super romantic. It's like tough and gruff and and there is like this beautiful balance of feminine and masculine. And when we create that balance and that harmony between both of us, whether you're a man or a woman, you truly start to integrate into your greatest possible self. So a place that I've been afraid of is the masculine. A place that I've taken for granted is the feminine. So I get to really respect both of those and to connect with myself at the deepest level. So write love letters to yourself. That's what I would recommend just in this conversation. And specifically, if you're someone who you got a message, you want to get it out to the world, you want to impact more people, let's talk. If it's coming on the 12-hour marathon and being a guest, I would love to support you in getting your message out. Ceri, Lori, Crystal, let's talk. Jessica's been on the 12-hour marathon. She freaking blew it up, like just so great, so epic, so fiery. So let's talk. And everyone who's out there in the audience, if you're ready, let's dive in, okay? If you're not ready, I can work with you. I can help you get up to speed. We have tons of resources and training to help people become great guests on the 12-hour marathon and any podcast, and to be able to get your message out even more. Also, if you want to launch your own podcast, if you've been inspired by Jessica, Ceri, Lori, Crystal, and all kinds of amazing panelists who've been on here, if that inspires you, if that calls to you, you're watching this for a reason. Part of you probably feels, if you're like me, and probably like all of you, if you're like me, you say, I wish I could do that. I wish I could have my own show. Like what doors would that open up for me? What opportunities could that create? And I can firmly speak straight to you and say, having my 12-hour marathon is one of the best decisions of my entire life. I've learned who I am. I've learned what I stand for. I've learned what I want to invest my time, my energy into in this lifetime. So I highly encourage you, launch your podcast if that resonates with you. And how you can get a hold of me, facebook.com/TH3Burns. You can find me in the comments. I've been commenting and stuff. Instagram @IamMillionaireChris, or you can send me an email. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was and how I can support you. Chris@beyourgps.com. You can also visit beyourgps.com. You can also search greatest possible self on the internet, and you'll find our podcast marathon. So thank you.
Boom.
Yay, thank you.
There it is. That's one of the things that I love about the Be Your GPS marathon podcast is just that energy that you got right there, you guys. You can't help, even if I've got other things to do, if I'm, off being a mom, I've got it on in the background all day, because I know that energy is there in the background. I don't have to hear every single word the whole 12 hours, but that energy in the background, you guys need that in your life on Wednesday. So make sure you visit his website. Chris, you are amazing as always. Thank you so much for being here, my friend.
Thank you. I love you all. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. See you next time, Chris. All right, ladies, let's have a couple minute chat about how amazing Chris was. Chris always, like I said, it doesn't matter what he could have just sat there. He could have left his mic on the whole time and it'd have been all right. And it would have been good. But he always has so many amazing things to say. What were some of your takeaways today, ladies?
I love that he said the most important thing is to love yourself, because that is something that I don't think a lot of people really think too much about. I know for myself, I thought I loved myself, and I, like him, asked myself that question one day and was not able to answer it, or I wasn't happy with the way I was answering it. So I really had to dive deep and start to rebuild that relationship. And like Ceri had mentioned, I love the way he mentioned fathering himself, because I kind of felt like I had to mother that child that didn't get that when I was younger. And as soon as I started doing that and loving myself, things started to shift and change for me. So yeah, I love this whole conversation. It was amazing.
Awesome. What about you, Ceri? What were your takeaways today?
Taking responsibility for ourselves, and in the business that we're in, not taking responsibility for the outcome of our clients. Mm-hmm. We're not responsible for whether they do the work or not. We just provide the tools. If they don't do the work, that's on them, not on us.
Yeah, that's a very hard place to get to. I know that.
Oh, I know.
For me, it's something that I still am. You know, it's really it's not so much a place to get to. It's a daily mindfulness sort of practice for me to say, okay, what am I responsible for today, and what am I not responsible for today? Because I tend to want that. You know, I've joked so many times on this show about I just want to see a world of shiny, happy people, and you know, whatever it takes to get that. And so it's hard for me in the way I've always been to not want to take that on, to not say I can do it, I can change everybody else and everything else. And I'm just very, I guess, optimistic and foolish in that way. However, you know, it really is, for me, it's been not just a place to get to or to strive through, but it's a daily, like, wake up, what am I responsible for today? You know, mm-hmm. and understanding that I can change the world by simply being responsible for myself.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you try to take on the responsibility for everybody else, then when it doesn't happen, then you feel like a failure, right? And you go backwards. So,
right.
Well, and I love that he starts at the foundation, right? Mm-hmm. So he said the first thing that he did was he decided that he was going to claim and become the father of his own life, mm-hmm. like right there, base chakra, victim to mother, or victim to father, you know, victim to being your own parent, taking control and taking accountability. And then he ends it with like this massive, awesome truth bomb. I'm a freaking man, and I write love letters to myself every day, and I remind myself and teach myself how to love myself. That, I mean, right there, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Like, that is the essence of everything. And hello, passion comes from that sacral chakra. I mean, and then he gets mm-hmm. stronger. Like, you can move all the way up. It was just, yeah, really great.
Yeah. So many good things. And we would love, if you are watching the show, listening to this show, no matter where you're at, keep the comments coming. Give us a hashtag replay if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on the replay, and share your thoughts about the hot topic today, about being stuck, about all the amazingness that Chris shared, about all the great things that Crystal, Ceri, and Lori shared today. Keep the comments coming so that we can continue to interact with you after the show, because it's so much fun. It's so much fun to get to hear your thoughts as well about the show. I want to thank everybody who has been on with us today. I can't believe we're at the end of another episode. It just flies by.
It flew by.
Flies by every time. I want to thank our amazing panelists today. Crystal Cockerham, our transformational midwife. Crystal, thank you so much for being here with us today, my friend.
Thank you.
And then we had Lori Auger, our artist and BQH practitioner. If I can get my acronyms right today, BQH practitioner. Lori, thank you so much for being with us today.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. And also Ceri, Ridenour, our mama bear extraordinaire, helping us through all the traumas in our life. Ceri, thanks so much for being with us today. And also a great big thank you to our special guest, Chris Burns, and a huge thank you to all of you for watching on Facebook, YouTube, and the web, or listening on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Google Play Music. Thank you guys so much, wherever you're watching or listening. We appreciate you so, so much. Also to our sponsors, patrons, and broadcast partners, thank you for helping us to spread the inspiration and positivity of the show. And special thanks to our business patron, Philip Dugas at Kia of Auburn. For all your vehicle needs in the Southeast United States, please visit kiaofauburn.com. Up next week, we've got another incredible guest, you guys. Will Carlos is going to be joining us. He's an energy practitioner who has a powerful experience to share with us. That moment when he said, you know what, whether I get my miracle or not, I'm going to keep going. So we've got him, we've got our hot topics, we've got our roundtable discussion as we dive even more deeply into season 3 of the Breakthrough Show. I want to thank everybody again for watching today. I'm Jessica Dugas, your host, and we'll see you next time.
For tuning in to another episode of The Breakthrough. Please visit our website at www.thebreakthroughshow.com. And be sure to join our After the Breakthrough community powered by Patreon. We look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same place for another inspiring episode.